All right. Good morning, everybody out there on Facebook land. We are back. This is Chattin with CHAP. I'm your host, Ginger Wade, and you will see today I have the FINS Robotics Club with us. I am so glad to have them back with me this year. They were on last year because they had a really cool, new, exciting thing happen to them. And I'm not going to go into it because it happened again this year, and I want them to talk about it. So anyway, I wanted to remind you guys before we get started with chatting with the Robotics Club. I guess they just call themselves robotics. They don't put the word club. Um, the Midwinter Conference is coming up in February. It's going to be in Lancaster. It's a place to get refreshed and renewed, ready to go through the whole rest of the school year and be encouraged. So midwinter-conference.org is where you want to go for information on that. And I hope to see you there because I will be there. Okay, so let's just start off, guys. Let's go around the room. Now, we didn't even talk about directions and where we were going to start and go. So, because it might look backwards to you from me, but let's start with by the fireplace in the sweater. And you can introduce yourself. Maybe, how do we do this? Let's say, introduce yourself and maybe how many years you've been doing the robotics stuff with this group. Okay, does that make sense? So go ahead and start. Nice and loud.
I'm Abigail Ferry. I've been on the FINS Robotics team for 3 years now, and this past year was my last year because I am graduating.
Okay, cool, great. All right, next on the sofa.
Okay, my name is Lucas Davison. I've been on the team for 3 years.
I'm Alex Ferry, and I've been on the team 3 years.
I'm Silas Pickett, and I've been on the team for 2 years.
I'm Aiden Guffey, and I've been on the team for 3 years as well.
I'm Max Tame, and I've been on the team for 3 years as well.
I'm Nora Pickett, and last year is my first year on the team.
Okay, great. So FINS, I forgot to go back a little bit. FINS is what? Can someone tell me what FINS is? Just not FINS Robotics, just FINS.
FINS, the word, like the acronym, it means Family Instructors of the northern suburbs. Yes,
of Pittsburgh. Suburbs of Pittsburgh, for those of you who do not know. Those of us who are in the Philly area or the central Pennsylvania area, we're in, this group is in Pittsburgh. So I do believe that my good friends Barb and Rick, I think Rick Robotics group, and Barb started the FINS group. So they were obviously the founders of what's going on out there, which is awesome. And so yeah, FINS is like are you a co-op or are you a support group? Like, do you meet for classes or do you know like how you function?
No, FINS Robotics is a 501c3 nonprofit organization, basically. And so we just meet during the robotics season for Best Robotics. So pretty much like the end of August until like the end of October for hub competition, and then if you make it to regionals, it goes on through December.
Wow, so it's like a sports season, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, cool. So that's awesome. So this is a group, everyone out there who's watching. They live out in the northern burbs of Pittsburgh. They started this robotics club, I don't know how many years ago. Do you guys know how many years ago? It's been a number of years, right?
2011 was our first year, so
It's been like 12 or 13
yeah.
years.
Yeah. So, but they've been enjoying what they're doing over the past few years. And last year they won some competitions and did some cool things and I interviewed them, and it happened in this year. So let's go around. So you told me the name of your group and your club, what it is. So when it gets started, we just talked about that. So we talked a little bit about competitions. You have some really cool trophies there. So tell us a little bit about the competitions. We'll talk specifically about your robot and stuff later, but tell us about your competitions, like where it is that you competed and what the progress was for that this year.
Right.
Anyone?
Sure, I'll do it. So the competition starts out at Grove City College, where we go to see what the theme of the year's challenge will be and what the game field will be set up like. and also to get our kit of parts that we use to build the robot. That includes like wood and PVC pipe and a few other little things to build the robot. The motors and stuff we have to reuse from year to year. But yeah, then we spend a couple of weeks, how many, like 8 or so building a robot? Yeah. Then we spend some time building the robot, testing, and yeah, then local competitions. We go and compete. And should I talk about the marketing team, or does someone else want to talk about?
I can talk about the marketing
Okay, you
team.
talk about the marketing
Essentially, well, we start the same way. We go to Grove City College to start, and we learn what the competition's going to be, and then we go and we don't get a kit for ours necessarily, but we go and we have to design a booth, like a trade show booth.
Oh,
We
yeah.
have to design a marketing presentation, which is like kind of like Shark Tank, where like you go and you have to try to convince people to buy your product. And then there's also a spirit and sportsmanship kind of aspect of the competition, where you have to cheer on the other teams at the competition, and you have to cheer on the other teams, but then also you get points based on like how loud you are and how easily it is to tell that you are cheering. So that's pretty much the marketing side.
Yeah.
We also have to design a t-shirt and a marketing video to promote ours. So this was our t-shirt this year.
I don't know if you can see it very well here. But
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
really cool. Sorry, go ahead. You had something else to say?
Oh no, that's all. Because
Yeah,
Okay.
there's
No, I
really
was just gonna share. I think it's really cool because maybe in a lot of our minds out here, those of us who are not involved in this process might just think, oh, you build robots, you go to a competition, yay, it's
Yeah.
fun. But there's so many aspects to what you're doing, and that's what was really eye-opening for me last year. I thought was really cool. Like there's a whole marketing thing, like you said, the Shark Tank thing, and you do the presentation, and I remember, I don't know if you showed me pictures from last year, or maybe I saw it somewhere, but they were like business study, like dressed up, kind of, looking the part. And I think that's great because there's so many different parts to this. So it's not just the robot builders that are in your group. You have people who have different skills. So it's like this mixed group and you're working together. I just think that is super cool.
Oh, yeah.
So you went to Grove City. So there's local ones. So your local competitions, were those like with other like high schools and stuff, like right near you? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the Grove City one was what was that? You did a competition at Grove City?
The Grove City one is the local hub. We meet in Grove City. That one extends essentially. It's in the Pittsburgh area, but there have been one year there was a team from New York that came over. There's a few in Ohio, I think, that come to Grove City. So it's kind of like an area around where we are. So it's not just Pittsburgh, but
Okay.
Grove City for the local hub.
All right. So what did you were pointing out your awards before we got started. So what was your prize at Grove City? Like what were the areas? Because I know last year you won different things in different areas. So like what happened to Grove City?
So does anybody want to see? I can show the awards.
Okay.
So so we got I'll get closer to the camera. We got best marketing presentation. So we got
Okay,
first
cool.
marketing presentation. And we also got the best video.
Oh, nice. Very
For
cool.
the marketing.
So did you have a lot of editing to do there? Were you doing a lot of editing? What type of video was it?
It's like a promotional video, kind of like it's just trying to. Our video is like we have to share what the problem of our robot is, and then we have to say how our robot can fix that problem.
Right.
Nice. It's a commercial. You're making a commercial.
Yeah. You want to do
Sure.
the game one because you built the robot.
This is the game second place.
Okay.
So we were the second best robot competing on the field, and then we got second best overall.
This is
Oh, cool.
second overall out of all.
The overall category is like compiling all of the scores from all the different aspects of the game. So it's how your robot competed, and it's also how your spirit and sportsmanship was, and how the marketing presentation was, how you did on your engineering notebook and the booth.
That's what we
Cool.
did say. Yeah, we didn't talk
All
about
right,
the
so there's all those different parts, and you can do well in some and not in others, but then there's an overall altogether.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. So those were all from Grove City,
Yes.
Yeah.
right? Okay, and then and you said second overall, right? Is that what?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then that got you to be able to go to regionals,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
which was in Denver again, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was.
This time the Denver Coliseum hosted it.
Cool. So when you get to Colorado, you get to Denver, how many other teams are there?
Around 24.
Yeah, around
Yeah.
24.
Just over 20.
So how many days does it take all you guys to do all your things?
Like,
do you do all those same things in Denver that you did in Grove City? Like you have to do the marketing and you have to do the
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how many days does it take for 20 or 20? How many teams did you say? 20, 24 teams to
Yeah.
get through all of that?
So there's 2 days. The first day is like marketing day, and the second day is game day. And they had 2 fields, so you could get the teams through twice as fast.
Mm-hmm. Was it nerve-wracking?
Yes.
Yeah.
Very nervous. Did you walk in and go, oh man, were there other teams that looked really super snappy and you were like, oh wow, or like how'd you feel walking in there?
Yeah.
It was kind of like, wow, their booth looks pretty nice and things like that. It was really discouraging because on game day we discovered that our robot Slice has a little bit of performance anxiety.
Yeah.
And so his parts weren't working as smoothly as we would have liked.
Oh.
And we spent a lot of the day trying to fine tune and get his infrared sensors working properly and all of the things. So
Yes, technology. You just never know what's going to happen, right? So here's a question for you. If you went in there and your robot's like, man, it is not functioning the way it was at home, something, is different. Does anybody take into account your like on the fly skills in your competition? Does anyone go, oh, look, you have these issues, but look, is that just like an extra added thing on the side that you can say, hey, we did well and we were fixing stuff on the fly? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, do they see if you have issues and if you can fix them on?
I think there's actually
the other way.
I think there's actually an award for not having to change your robot. I think it's like the Robust Robot Award, where like for not changing it at all during game day, you get a better score in that category for not changing it because you made it well the first time.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, you don't score points for fixing the robot. Like none of the judges are going around with a clipboard looking at all the teams and saying, oh, your infrared wasn't working and you fixed it, so I'm gonna
Okay. So there's no points for fixing stuff on the fly. You have to have it ready before you get there.
Yeah.
Even if something happened to it on the way, but I guess that's not your fault. Well, I don't know. I'm just saying, because if you flew in and your robot got smashed by someone, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
They do have a pit that's what they call it, where you can work on your robot and stuff like that, but there isn't really much you can do if it gets completely totaled.
Yeah, you don't want to have to use the pit, right? Stay out of the pit. Okay, so when you were at regionals in Denver, what happened there? Like, how do you guys do in Denver this year?
So this year because we didn't do very well in the game, we weren't able to get a best award, but we did get first place t-shirt and third place engineering notebook.
This is the first place t-shirt award.
Yeah, that's cool.
And over there, this is the engineering notebook award over there.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about your robot. So, you know, you were saying how you go to Grove City at the beginning of the season and you might get a kit and you're told what the field's going to be and what you have to do. So like this year, what was that? Like, what did you need to accomplish this year with your robot?
Right. This year, the competition or the challenge, the theme was incision decision. It's robotic surgery themed. So basically, we had the game field was set up to be kind of like the human body, where it had they called it the sim body, where you had different sections like where you could perform a brain biopsy, a heart ablation, and different things. Of course, this is all in a very big scale here. So our robot would come up. We had to like scrape plaque out of arteries or do things like that. They were basically just wooden blocks inside of tubes that we had to like put in a little rake and pull them out into a box on our robot and then bring them back to score points. That was one of the many ways that you could score points on the field this year. But yeah.
There was also a brain biopsy, which we had to do autonomously.
That was one of our big money makers right there.
Yeah, that helped us to get second place, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was the part that wasn't working at Denver, so unfortunately.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but there's lots of different there were lots of different little like
There's a ton of different tasks.
different tasks. That's a good way to put it. That we had to do.
They set it up in a way that there's so many tasks that you can't really do them all because when you get up there, you have 3 minutes to complete as many tasks as possible, score as many points as you can. And so yeah, there's like 10 different surgeries that you could perform.
Yeah.
So yeah, lots of options for the different teams.
Yeah,
Yeah.
wow. So like, yeah, it could all be different for everybody depending what they decide to focus on, right?
Yeah.
So that's really cool though, because I mean, obviously, I'm sure this has been happening like every year, but that is really genius to get you guys at your age thinking about those types of things, you know, robotic surgery and that type of thing, because obviously they're doing it or they're trying to move toward that. And so those of you who are coming up to, you know, choose your vocation and what you want to do, and you're starting to think about that, and maybe I want to get into this and learn a little more. I think that's really brilliant because it might open your eyes to something you hadn't thought of before. Maybe you guys have all thought of doing robotic surgery before, but I think it's a really good idea because people might not be thinking about that, but then you get to practice something that they want to develop for real life, and it's not just something that's just this fun thing that we get to do and build robots, but you're doing something that could be useful and knowledge that others will need in the future. So I really like that. I think that's cool. So let's see, with your robot, what type of things were on your robot this year? Like, what did you make your robot with? Like, did it have, can you describe it? I don't know if you had it with you last year. I can't remember, but
yeah, the robot it uses a fairly similar sort of drive to what we used last year. We had 2 large motors that were powering the wheels directly this year. Last year we tried to use gears. And also last year we had a caster wheel on the front, so kind of like a shopping cart. It had the 2 wheels that would drive it in the back, and it would have the caster wheel in front to move around. But we found that the caster wheel did not work very well. It did not turn because with the parts we had, we couldn't make it very well. So we used PVC pipe skids instead of a caster wheel. It slides very well on the surface that we drove the robot on. It's a carpet, so.
Yeah, that's one of the main things that we learned from last year to this year.
Yeah, you learn a
That's
lot
cool.
from your building different robots.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the whole thing, it was mostly made out of wood. We had screws and glue and everything holding it together. We also obviously used some PVC pipe and some pieces of aluminum sheet metal to do some more of the more durable or thinner components that needed to be strong. And yeah, we also had an arm that used a special mechanism to move it up and down with while keeping the end of it level. Similar to what you would see in a double wishbone suspension in like a car, except instead of it being suspension, it's an arm that moves up and down. On the end of that, we had a attachment for different tools that we could use, because part of the challenge was you had to come back to the starting box in the game field and change out tools to perform different surgeries. So, for example, with the heart ablation, there was a special little spinning tool that had little Velcro tags on it. And when you drove the robot alongside of a special Velcro strip on the side of a wall, which was the heart, the little wheel would spin and the little Velcro tabs would come off and stick to there. You would get points for how many of those stuck to the wall. And yeah, you had to design attachment points on your robot for those tools. And you can also make your own custom tool. The teams can make their own custom tools. We tried to make a multi-tool that could perform multiple different surgeries, because the ablation tool is the only one that you have to use for that surgery. The other stuff like the plaque scraping and the brain biopsy, you could use you could use your custom tool to do either of those. So we had a 2-pronged little thing to get the brains out of the brain biopsy unit, which was like a little thing where you would push into 2 little holes, and it would dispense 2 little foam stress ball little brain things that were the things that you would
Brain box.
those little brain box things that would score you points. Right. And we also had, now to get for the brain biopsy, we mentioned that it was autonomous, which means that the robot has to drive itself there and get the brains out of the little unit thing.
Without the driver holding.
Right, the driver can't manipulate the robot at all. The controller has to stay down. And in order for the robot to navigate its way there from the starting box, because you had to start from the starting box, there was a special little line on the game field that the robot could use infrared sensors that would bounce infrared light off of the line to see where the line was. And you could use those and program the robot in such a way that it would follow that line. And so we also had to build some special IR sensor units on the front of the robot to so it could see where it was going during the autonomous procedure. So, yeah.
Wow, that's like fascinating, because like that's exactly what they want to do in real surgery, right? Like you wouldn't want to have to rely to some guy out here looking on the camera, right? The thing can do on its own. Wow, that's really genius. Cool.
Yeah.
So did you have, like when you were building your robot, did you have like a size limit? Like it can only be so big or so
Yeah.
We had to be
constraints?
inside of a 2-foot cube, and so
And there's also a limit on weight, so it can't be
Right,
over
that's it.
24 pounds. But ideally, we don't want to be anywhere near the limit, because the more weight you have, the slower your robot goes and the less torque it has, because it's using so much of its power to just carry its own weight. So ideally, you want to be like as lightweight as possible while still having all the things on your robot that you need.
Yeah, so that's all that stuff you have to think about, right? You want it to be strong and sturdy and not break, but not too heavy and not too, so it's a little bit of this. So did you have to do a little bit of back and forth on that, or were you kind of like, oh, we got to do it this way, and you did it? Or did you try this and nah, let's try it this way instead to try and work out those?
we had a specific engineering design process that we would go through, and we would document this as we went along in our engineering notebook, which was another big way of scoring points. So first we would start by looking at the challenge or the field and seeing what we needed to accomplish. then we would say how we might be able to accomplish that. And we would talk about different design ideas for performing the different tasks, like different setups on the robot for doing things. Then we would start prototyping, which is when we would make little models of cardboard or Legos or combinations of the two, or basically whatever we could find to create three-dimensional things that we could work with and see if it would work really.
And
Yeah.
also, we tried several different times to like write on paper our ideas to share with like the rest of the team. But we found that to be really hard because like paper's two-dimensional. So we have some really good artists, but it was still hard to like understand the ideas. So by making it 3D and prototyping, it was much easier to communicate to everyone else.
Oh, that's really cool. So what I'm just going to stop for a moment and speak to our audience. So as you're listening to what they're saying, obviously, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but they didn't figure it out right away. It took them a lot of time. It took them a lot of sketching. It took them a lot of conversation. You know, there's failure in there and figuring it out. So parents out there who are listening, kids who are listening, it takes time to figure this stuff out. And like the notebook, learn how to take notes, everyone, because the notes are important, right? And I think that's really wise in the competitions that you are in, that is part of what gets judged, because then it's not just all the stuff that's in your brain and you're just whatever, but you can communicate it by getting it down. And that's really important, because if you come up with something ingenious and say they want to use it in medicine, how can they replicate it if you don't have written down what you did, right? So it's another way of learning to communicate, which I think is really smart about the way those competitions are run. So let's move around to like individually. I want to talk to you guys individually. Like, so you said your name and how long you've been on the team, but let's go around and say like, what was your role this year? And what was your favorite part of like just the whole thing? You could say about the design process or the competition process, but what do you really love about doing this robotics stuff? So what was your role in the group? What's your favorite part? If you're looking forward to next year, that kind of thing. So I don't know, whoever wants to start, how we want to do that, go right ahead.
Or we can start, just go the same way.
Okay, sounds good.
So my main task was engineering notebook. I was the lead for the engineering notebook, and I worked to make it sound like it was in the same voice. So even though we sectioned out parts to different people, I put it all together and made it one continuous piece. And I also enjoyed being on the critical design review team. It's something that we meet with the heads of Best Robotics and give them like a rundown of our basic design, and we can ask questions and get tips and pointers and stuff, and that was fun for me as well. And then I was also a driver, so I got to drive the robot on game days.
Cool. Fun. All right, next.
Okay, so I had multiple roles on the team.
He switched a bunch.
Go ahead. Yeah, I switched around a lot. So first, early in the season, I helped design the t-shirt that you see here. Later on in the season, when the robot was being built and we needed to code functions into the robot, I helped with that. And then in regionals, I substituted for someone who could not go to regionals in the booth presentation. So that's all I did.
I helped the team by initially helping design the robot, and then a little bit later, like when they started building the robot and we knew we had a good design, then I switched over to do marketing stuff, and I was the one who presented the facts about our actual robot in the marketing presentation.
I started off in the engineering team, but I had to train to be a substitute for him, but he still actually made it. So I was the president of operations in the marketing presentation.
I was one of the engineers that would build the robot. I was also one of the drivers for the robot on the actual game day itself. And yeah, that's my thing. I like to build and stuff, so I stayed there.
I was on marketing the whole time. I was one of the two people in the booth, like the trade show booth presentation, and then I also helped design the video, helped design the t-shirt that we have.
Oh yeah, I forgot. I did that too.
Oh yeah, and Aiden designed
Okay, I did the front.
he did the logo on the front. And then yeah, that's what I did this year. So yeah.
So I was on the marketing presentation. I was the chief marketing officer. So I talked about like our outreach and how to get our robots and our company out to people. And then I also put together the video so other people like filmed it and drove the robot. But then after all that, I went home and put it together on like iMovie and Canva. So that's what I did.
So did you enjoy your roles, first of all? Yes, no, yes. Yeah. Okay. Was there a part, like, what do you like the best? Do you like the design and initial work where you're figuring it out? Or do you like the competition? Or do you like them both equally because they're different? Like, what do you think? Anybody?
I like all.
Yeah, I think you have to like all of it to really be motivated to get it done when it's in the hard parts, because you can work toward competition, but that doesn't make it as much worth the journey,
Yeah.
if you know what I mean. The
Mhm.
journey is the fun part as well as the competition, because you get to see how well you did with what you had.
Right.
So do you think for you guys personally as a group, as you work through this stuff, you know, you're doing all the different parts, does doing something like this, working on this type of a project together with so many different parts and you're switching back and forth to different roles, do you think that's valuable just for you? Like as you're growing and learning how to function, like you're growing to be a responsible adult, right? Is this something that's really helping you to build good character skills, or just learning how to work with other people who don't think like you do?
Yeah,
You're right.
We definitely build like a lot of team skills and working as a team,
yeah.
Right.
no matter where you're at on the team.
Yeah, okay. So with that, now here's a question, and maybe you don't do this, but I thought I'd ask. Do you do anything together as a team that's just fun, just to like get to know each other?
In the off
Yeah.
season, we'll have like game days and stuff.
We do more fun stuff in like the off season because our schedules are already kind of full,
Right.
because we meet like 3 times a week
Mhm.
during the season itself.
Yeah.
But we also take time for snack about halfway through, and we enjoyed inventing a new game called Snack Ball.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So with that the team building part, I mean, it's really important, right? It's really important to get to know who you're working with and to enjoy each other. And I would think spending that time together maybe even makes your design and building process faster because you understand each other and know where, you know each other better, right? So
Yeah.
I think that's a really, and of course, making fun alternate side fun games like Snack Ball is excellent. So,
Yeah, we also had like a cookout at the beginning of the season, and like get to know you games in like the first week or two, and then we all worked together to vote on different logos and robot names and team names and things like that.
We also practiced like voting. We practiced like the way we voted. And so for fun, we did it on like making a new kind of ice cream that incorporates like the surgery theme, as well as like an ice cream for Ben and Jerry's kind of thing. And so after we made it, one of our coaches actually made the ice cream for us to
Nice.
eat.
That is so
Yeah.
It's very good.
That is so fun. So what I love about this is that it's not, yes, you go to a competition, you did a great job. Some unfortunate things happen in Denver, but you persevered. You know, that's a learning process to maybe help you out with next year's tasks. But it's not just that. There's more to it, right? You're spending time together. You're building a relationship. You're getting to know each other, and that is actually enhancing your team, right? It's enhancing what you can do together. So I think that's an important message for all of you guys out there too. If you're listening, doing the thing is really cool. Building the robot, doing the competition, doing well in the competition is great. But they're also doing other things that I think are so valuable in learning how to work in a team, building good character, building relationships, building friendships, and doing fun things in that way. So it's okay to make things fun, right? It's okay to have the fun stuff in there, right? This is not all business. So very cool. Is there anything you want to share before we wrap up? You think you're all are you all back next year, or some of you graduating?
I'm graduating.
That's right.
I think all the rest of us will be back next year.
Everyone will be back. Looking forward to it. Then I guess you guys don't know what's going to be next year, right? You have to wait till next year.
A little bit.
It's gonna be space.
It's
Space.
There's a teaser
Going to the moon.
that tells us that it's like all space themed. We don't really know much past that other than it's like space themed and robots.
And
Okay, well that sounds fun.
It's gonna be something space related. So yeah.
probably on the moon.
Yeah, probably on the moon. But
That's an
it could
important
be
detail. That is an important detail.
it could be so like it could be any space related thing. Like it could be cleaning up space debris or exploring the moon. We don't know until
some
August.
Each year after the end of the regionals competition, they show everyone the teaser for next year, which kind of gives you the theme, but
Mhm.
it doesn't really tell you more than that. And
Doesn't give you any.
and so then you just
details.
kind of think about like what it might be, but everybody thinks
Mhm.
it might be something different.
Something
Yeah.
different.
It's
Yeah,
not specific.
And
there's a
then-
lot of options there. Maybe it'll be a Land Rover. You'll have to build a Land Rover. Okay, well, anything else you want to share with our audience?
Just about the teaser, there are a few Easter eggs in it.
Yeah, that's
So you can
kind of
deduce a little bit of what might happen in the game.
Right, very cool. Well, I am so glad you guys came on with me again this year. I'm glad it went well for you. I'm sorry things didn't go as well in Colorado as you wish they would, but you persevered. You did come home with two really cool trophies. And do you have a trophy case now? Because you're gonna have to start. You're gonna have to start a trophy case somewhere.
We now have like this whole shelf in our basement dedicated to robotics and mostly just the trophies from it now.
Yeah, there
That's
you go.
fun. That is really fun. Those are good memories. You'll take those with you forever. So that's great. Well, thanks for coming on, guys. I'm so glad I got to talk with you again this year. I'm glad your doggy keeps coming to visit us too. And everybody out there, just don't be afraid to jump in and try to start something new. Like this group was started years ago, and look how far they've come and what they're doing and what they're knowing and learning. And there's so many options in homeschooling. So just take advantage of your freedom to do things that interest you, to do things that, get your brain juices going and excite you and interest you. So again, FINS Robotics, thanks for joining me. I'm so glad you were on. And you know what? Let me know what happens next year and what the space theme turns out to be.
Oh yeah.
Okay. All right. Bye, everybody. We'll see you next week.
3, 2.